Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to a special installment of TED Excellence, the show in which we take a look at what people have to say about things that we think we know about but don't know much about at all, because they know better than we do. At least they're on a stage purporting to be that way. And we come to you live from Crater Valley on the moon with Dogcat Fox, a Pepperjack, and joining me today, first time on the show, longtime friend of me and the channel, Thomas J. Connors.
Well, hello. How's everybody doing?
Hope everybody's doing okay. Yes, Tom Connors, everybody. One of the muckety mucks over at Midnight's Edge. If you're not aware of Midnight's Edge, you can find all of Tom's particular links in the description below, both to the YouTube channels, his Lost Classics music channel, his Twitter page, Subscribe Star, and so on. So please take a look at those if you're not already aware. But just for those that don't know, Tom Connors, what does Midnight's Edge do in particular?
Well, we look at genre entertainment and try to break down from the corporate point of view and behind the scenes kind of stuff. We try not to get too political, but as things go lately, you know how that is. But yeah.
Yeah, it's almost, actually not even almost, it is unavoidable, all things considered. And today's subject matter might just give an indication of that. But yeah, I've been watching Midnight's Edge for years and years now. Seen it through all its various iterations, way back when they were doing their series of little mini documentaries on the behind the scenes chaos of the Fan 4 Stick movie, which is 2015. So I guess now it's been, golly gee, almost 10 years I've been watching that channel. And I still watch it, and now I'm very fortunate and honored to have an opportunity to participate occasionally in streams for Midnight's Edge, and very glad to have met Tom through Undoomed, and then here we are. And so, yes, this is second in my most recent series of guest appearances for TED Excellence. And last time, I'm very grateful that you had the opportunity to join. I hope you enjoy your stay for as much as enjoyment can be had.
Well, I'm somewhat familiar with these. I've watched a few of them with you.
Oh boy, yeah. Last time it was Script Doctor, and before I scheduled it with him, I asked him, "Do you want something random or something pertains specifically to your profession?" I didn't know how much he wanted to talk shop, and he was just, "Oh, whatever works." And so I thought I'd throw something a bit random. But this time, I thought, since I have a resident cinematic expert, both behind the scenes and otherwise, on my hands, I thought I'd do something a bit more on point. And so also potentially, depending on how it falls out, political. And today's subject is diverse creators are better for film. Now, I'm assuming we're talking about movies. I have not watched this ahead of time, but I guess we'll see what the argument is. I can already guess as to maybe what some of the rhetoric might be, but we'll get to that momentarily. Before that, who's joining us on this beautiful Wednesday afternoon? Let's see. TC, good afternoon. Keeverdam, good afternoon. Who else is here? Derek LaRue. Holy cats, Derek. Thank you so much, as always, for your continued support and generosity. Very, very much appreciated. Hope you're having a good day and hope you enjoy the show. Some Namnul Nation, good afternoon. Funtime Bats, good afternoon. Matthew James, good afternoon. Mike Savage, Blarg. Simon Willikins, good afternoon. Keeverdam as well, again. Thank you, Keeverdam, for the lovely, happy, heartfelt Dogcat Fox. Oh, Dogcat Fox.
Wowee, wow.
No, there's an irate Alex Dogcat Fox. Thank you so much, Keeverdam. Hope you're having a good afternoon. Abdicast Diaboli, hello to you. Robert Pincus, good afternoon. Vader35, good afternoon. Jaeger Pony, good afternoon. Jamie Milquist, good afternoon. Keldrig, good afternoon. Okie Native, good afternoon to you. And to anybody else that I missed, anybody lurking or anybody in the future, good afternoon. Okay, so here we go. This is TED Excellence. We've got diverse creators are better for film. Also, Woodcutta, good afternoon. Today's bingo card is bingo card C, as selected by my guest. Links to the bingo cards are in the description below. So get your bingo card C ready. C is in cat, C is in cinema. I'll start off with a few seconds for a sound test. But I want to make a prediction. I'm going to think that we're going to have something to the effect of diverse creators bring unique lived experience or unique perspectives to their projects, and diverse is going to focus primarily on race and gender. That's my guess. So I'll save my psychic moment. Do you have any predictions, Tom?
I think those are pretty sound predictions. I was just actually looking over the bingo card. So I'm
Yes.
getting my bingo card ready here because I have a horrible memory
Yes.
when it comes to shit except for Hollywood stuff. So I'm going to get it up here in like a paint shop or
Yep, I have it.
regular
Yeah, I
paint.
just have it. I just have it in paint as I go along.
So I
Mark
can
it up.
mark it up exactly. So I'm going to do that.
All right, so we will mark it up as we go. And remember, guys, if we get to the end of the stream and there's still squares to be circled, and there probably will be, Tom and I will go over the bingo card one more time as a review, and then we'll open up the floor to your arguments for squares to be circled, if anything needs to be sort of discussed or debated in aggregate. So all that as preamble, let's begin. This one clocks in at just over 14 minutes. Start off with a few
that's
seconds.
not too bad.
No, but usually what I do is
I suppose once you start stopping and
yeah, so I usually take the length of the talk, multiply it by 4, and that's usually how much time it takes to get through it before we get to bingo.
It's probably a good way of doing it.
Yeah, this comes from years of practice, but let's start and see what we get. We start off with disruption, everyone.
Dun, dun, dun.
5 years ago, if you'd asked me what my dream was, I would have said, I want to be an actress.
All right, you guys hear that okay? 5 years ago, if you'd asked her what her dream was, she said she'd want to be an actress. This is Aletha Shepherd. I don't know the name off the top of my head. Let's see. Oh, Adabisi, good afternoon. Advocatus Diablo says, I hear it, diversity even, whatever that means. Well, as long as you can hear it, I guess we're okay. You hear it okay, Tom?
Yeah.
All right, so 5 years ago, if you'd asked her what her dream was, she wanted to be an actress.
But life took me down a different path. One of discovering the true power of letting go of a passion and finding my true calling in filmmaking.
Okay. And again, for those of you who might be new here or don't know, I do have to pause occasionally just as a matter of course because of YouTube. So even if there's not anything particular to be said, I still have to do it. So I can't let it
Well,
run.
and I admire that she's young enough yet, and she obviously realized not every acting is going to be for everybody. I've said this before, especially during like the strikes and things when a lot of them were complaining. It's like really only 10% of roughly the people that act actually make a living at doing it, right? Like the rest are day players, and if they're lucky, they can make a living doing anything close to acting, but it's not likely. So so at least she got smart.
Yeah, that was one of the things that I just kept finding myself irritated by during the strikes last year was this notion that because you call yourself a writer or an actor, that somehow you are just simply entitled to a perpetual paycheck or something. It's like, no, if the job isn't working out for you, you go find another job or another line of work, just like everybody else. But there seemed to be, at least not in everybody, I can't speak for all, but a lot of people that were most outspoken last year, there seemed to be this sense of I shouldn't have to operate like normal people. I am a writer. I'm like, okay, no. But okay, so she found out that acting wasn't necessarily her bag.
I would like to explore with you today the idea of embracing our authentic selves and the impact that has on storytelling and the human experience.
Okay, authenticity and impact, 2 words that veterans of my channel are very familiar with in recent years. They use that a lot in buttering people up for DEI and other such things.
Growing up on a council estate in Surrey, film and TV was my favorite pastime.
Mm-hmm.
It allowed me into worlds and places I could only dream of going. But despite my passion for storytelling, the journey into the film business seemed impossible.
Okay, and this is a rhetorical question. How did your passion for storytelling manifest? Simply being a fan of TV and movies and such is one thing, but the telling stories then requires some kind of external action on your part. So were you like very active as a kid? Did you take drama classes? Were you writing? So on. Yeah. But we're going to go to the bingo card real quick because that effectively comes to a childhood or family anecdote. So circling that on the board, as well circling free space because free is a good price. For those of you listening at home, I'll go over the bingo card one time to remind ourselves what we're listening for, and we'll go from there. So this is bingo card C. We have diversity, equity, and inclusion. Not yet, but I'm assuming from the title we'll get there. Word salad, mind reading or assumes motives, a list, and remember that has to be a formal list of some kind in the presentation, marginalized or marginalization, patriarchy, contradicts own point or argument, feminism, attempt to coin new buzzword or buzz phrase, and that's usually predicated by something I like to call, or something like that, systemic or institutional, anecdote that probably never happened. And for an example, that's something like, oh, I was watching the news with my 5-year-old yesterday and Donald Trump came on the screen and my 5-year-old turned to me and said, Mother, how can a blowhard like that succeed in politics so well in America? Something like that. Maybe not that extreme, but
How close are we to World War III, Mother? Tell me, really. Don't lie like a child.
Oh, do Mother, do tell me. I don't know why I decided that a 5-year-old sounds like some kind of like
they're all like Oliver.
British. Yeah, some Jane Austen novel. White supremacy, leaves out vital context, argumentative non sequitur. That can be a bit of a controversial one depending, but it's where someone brings up something in the course of their talk and it leads nowhere or it contributes nothing to their argument. So that's usually a very debatable one. Sales pitch for product or service. So does our speaker in this or other ones use the platform of a TEDx or TED Talk to push a particular product or organization or service or something? Privilege, and that just either has to be the word or the concept as part of the argument. Collectivizes own demographic. I can see that maybe happening. Self-vilification or wretchedness, as in they use themselves as an example of the problem, whatever problem is. Economic disparity, benevolent condescension. Those are all very subjective. Plays victim. And that's the speaker playing the victim. They have to make themselves part of the argument. Weightless example. And lastly, microaggressions or unconscious bias. So far on the board, we have free space and childhood or family anecdote.
And I think we're about to fill another one here after we find out why. Because I think she's about to tell us why she went from, what was it, acting to writing or producing or whatever it was. Yeah.
Nice. Yeah, we'll see.
I think
no one I knew had any connections or clue about the business. And opportunities seem reserved for those with connections. From a young age.
Connections is a euphemism for...
Is it, though? I mean, I want to give her the benefit of the doubt. She could be just talking about regular nepotism here.
Well, she said she grew up on a council estate, and she's talking about connections, so we're edging on economic disparity on the board.
Edging, I would say, edging heavily. Almost a Pornhub video at this point. But I will say, like, I'm going to give her the benefit of the doubt for now until we get a little farther into this, because she did skip over her childhood. She did not give us much to go on. That was a point you made.
Not yet. Anyway.
Right? Not yet, anyway. So, like, unless she's going to circle back around to it, I mean, we didn't get the whole, spiel about growing up in a marginalized family, blah, 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 blah.
I'm waiting to see what she says were the barriers to connections or what she had to overcome to get connections.
I had an innate desire to be seen and heard. My parents have this old footage of me from...
What?
Seen and heard, isn't that kind of colloquialism for woke?
We'll wait. I mean, we're only a minute in. Let's see if she says something more specific. I know you're on a hair trigger, and I appreciate that, but let's see what she has to say.
My parents have this old footage of me from when I was younger saying, "Put the camera on me, Daddy. Put the camera on me."
Oh, so you were a attention seeker.
She's rude assault.
Exactly. I want it now, Daddy. Or maybe that old English accent was.
It does. That's why you got set in there.
Oops.
I was obsessed with being the center of attention.
But
it came to no surprise to my parents when I decided I wanted to be an actress. However, as I ventured into acting, I encountered an industry that was riddled with prejudices and barriers.
Oh, there we go.
Of course. Okay. Well, no, I mean, what were your prejudices and barriers? Until I hear something specific, you never know. I mean, there might be something legitimate there. So let's see what she has to say.
At the time in the UK, the roles that were offered to me were based on stereotypes, and they often left me feeling frustrated and wanting more.
Well, okay. So you didn't take the jobs then? There was there's a controversy not too long ago. I think maybe you guys covered this with Tulsa King and hiring background artists or extras or whatever, and how the hiring company, against the sort of wishes or desires of the production company, hired a whole bunch of people that did not fit in a particular scene because they were the wrong age, the wrong look for the scene, and everything else. But they took the job anyway because, well, they were offered the job. And sometimes, if they're looking for someone to fulfill a role in a production because the part requires a particular look or is set in a particular time or something else,
right?
And especially if you don't have any other cachet in the industry, you might just end up getting small parts that fill out small roles, which might be either stereotypical or basically just human set dressing. So I guess them's the break. So did you just like not take the parts because you felt they were too small for you or something?
See, here's what I'm hearing. I'm hearing a little different thing. I'm hearing that she is feeling that they were she used the term stereotypical.
Yes.
Art, right? Which this could fall under a few of your categories already.
Mm-hmm.
And because I'm just going to play devil's advocate here and speculate a bit. I honestly feel like, because I don't know how old this lady is, and like most of my dates, the next morning I'm going to have to ask you her name because I don't know.
Sure.
No, I'm looking at her now, and I'm willing to bet she's not that old, and I have a hard time believing that a black British, it sounds British to me, woman had a hard time breaking into the industry as an actor, considering like 80% of our actors are all British.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so hey, I need more context.
Not only that, she's
about.
Probably coming in at the most woke time in Hollywood history. So like the idea that they were like, I can believe when like Samuel Jackson or some of these guys would say, yeah, when I first got in the industry in the late 80s, early 90s, all I was getting offered was gangster #1 or, robber #2. Like I can see that there was some stereotypical shit going on in that period. But once you get through the 90s and stuff, that kind of thing isn't as prevalent, maybe with some, let's say, Middle Eastern people, perhaps.
Oh yeah, it's hard to say for the British productions. And again, I without some more information, I don't know. But she is setting up a victim narrative, so Play's victim is getting.
That's what I'm saying. It's getting so close to a few of the bingos here.
So let's okay. So she wasn't. The parts she was being offered were too stereotypical for her liking, and then
it's not that she wasn't getting work.
Well, that's the thing. I mean, without no more information, I can't tell. Is it because she was too picky, or because they were pigeonholing her? I don't know.
Dissatisfied. I wanted to try my luck at Hollywood, hoping for a breakthrough.
Well, you roll the dice, you take your chances.
But despite 3.5 years of efforts, time and time again, I never got the call back.
Again, now, as Tom said earlier, there's a small percentage of those that actually try that eventually make it. And it's not because you're bad people. Sometimes it is luck. Sometimes it's just who you know and so on. But all right, so 3.5 years of trying and it didn't happen. Did you have a fallback? Did you go to school for some other discipline to have an escape hatch in case acting didn't work out? Because if you put all your eggs in one basket,
I attended all the acting classes possible, networked, and I rubbed shoulders with some of Hollywood's greats.
Such as?
Never seemed to make any difference.
Might be your defeatist attitude.
could be that you suck at your... See, here's the thing, right? Like, here's a cognitive dissonance that's involved with being somebody on the certain side of the aisle, let's say.
Mm-hmm.
When I've noticed this with... they can't even for once comprehend that they could be that bad, or that maybe, just maybe, up a little bit. I mean, I'm trying to be a little more.
Yeah, no, I get it.
Sweary for you. But like, yeah, it's because like I'm reminded of like the writer from Superman and Lois, who got fired, I think, during the first season, and she went out on social media and everywhere. I can't remember her name, but she went, and she just happened to be black, and I think she was going on all over the place on social media, saying things, and I'm paraphrasing, like, You know, they fired me because I'm black and I'm a woman. It's not because I'm a bad writer and all this kind of stuff because I know I'm good. And it's this cognitive dissonance of maybe, just maybe you screwed up. You know, like maybe this is not the job for you. Maybe there's another job that's more in your skill set, right? Like,
yeah, there's a difference between having confidence and being arrogant. And regardless of whatever profession or philosophy in life that you have, there should always, hopefully not to the point of complete self-defeat, but there should always be a little bit of doubt in your mind when something goes awry, where you at least ask yourself legitimately, is it possible that I am wrong? All right. There's that meme out there.
You got to ask that. Exactly. Is it just me? Maybe, you know, like,
there's that famous meme out there from Principal Skinner from The Simpsons. And it's like, could it be that I am in the wrong here? No, the children are wrong. You know, that kind of thing. It's or everyone else is wrong. So again,
the first part of that is that, you know, am I out of touch and it's the children who are right?
Right. Exactly. Am I out of touch? No, it is the children who are wrong. So in her case, without any more information, I mean, it could be she's just not an A+ actress. I mean, we don't know, and she's not telling us anything, but according to her, so far at least, she just didn't make the cut. And the implication is because of stereotypes or some other barriers. Now, will she detail what her difficulties are? And here's the thing, for those of you that might be new to this, whenever I watch these things, I've got the template of a persuasive essay in the forefront of my mind, and I'm waiting for those different parts of the persuasive essay to be hit by the presenter if they're trying to prove something to me. So the promise of the title is diverse creators improve film effectively. Okay, so now we've got, where do we get our thesis statement? She still hasn't gotten to her thesis statement. She's giving us all this preload stuff. So we still need to get to what her argument is, what the problem she says is the problem, and then what her offered solution would be. So far, she's had difficulties becoming an actress for unspecified barriers and difficulties. But I was already talked about stereotype and networking. And I guess also technically her origins on a council estate, which is usually lower middle class in Britain, thereabouts. So, or lower class. So let's hope she gives us some more information.
Was it my abilities?
Maybe.
Doubt started to creep in.
Sure.
And I started to question my potential and my self-worth.
All right.
Well, the operative word.
I don't know about the last part, but yeah.
Yeah, the operative word in self-worth is self, so that is a you problem. Uh-huh.
So on my return back to the UK, I auditioned for the top drama schools. And not only did I get into the final round of one, but two of the best drama schools in the world.
Well, I mean, schools will certainly take your money, regardless of your talent. I mean, of course, I don't know what the entry requirements are for these schools unless she tells us. So if there was some kind of decision process based on your performance in some sample plays or something, but okay. And
so if I had any doubt about my ability, that definitely silenced them.
That is not necessarily a healthy thing.
Exactly. Yeah. To me, that does not say you're still good. Like you just said, Scribe, any school will take your money.
Mm-hmm.
And when there's so many great actors who have won Oscars and won all the accolades, and most general people can agree that they're great actors or great performance and whatnot, doesn't necessarily had anything to do with their school or their teaching or their training. It has more to do sometimes with experience, and they're the right actor at the right time in the right place for the right role. You know, and different actors have very different ways of approaching things. If there was a science to it, then everybody could be an actor because you could just go to school and be an actor.
Yeah, and the self-doubt, even in a small degree, is necessary for self-improvement. You have to understand your own limitations, and then you have to have the drive to improve or overcome them. If you're going to take external validation from schools that you're paying, either through directly or through scholarships or whatever else, that doesn't help anything, and it might provide you, or you might create your own sense of, unjustified sense of self-confidence.
Well, and I kind of have my own personal story that's kind of reflective of this myself, because growing up, I finally decided I wanted to be a performer of some type, whether it's an actor, or whether it's on stage, or it was whatever. So I got into acting stuff and actually was in, programs and stuff where I was technically classically trained actor, if you want to call it that.
Mm-hmm.
But I got into it once with a director at one of my acting camps, and he flat out told me, he goes, "Tom, one day you may make a great actor, but right now I'm the director and you need to sit down and STFU because I'm the director. You're not.
Mm-hmm. Right.
He goes, in fact, you may even make a better director someday than you will an actor. Keep that in mind. But for right now, you need to do your job and shut up.
Right.
You know, and it was just because I was arguing with him some stupid mundane actor thing. Right. And again, at that moment, I realized, okay, maybe acting is not for me. Maybe I would be a better director. Or maybe I should look into writing. And I did dabble in other things. But when it came to actually getting to the point where I'm like, okay, I'm getting old enough where I need to decide what I need to do with my future here, I went into school for radio because that to me was a much more likely career than getting into any of the things I was thinking of. And if anything, that could be a launch pad for those things. So I was thinking strategically more so than going for the gusto and then blaming everybody else around me. Like, I can't be the problem because I went to all these schools and blah, 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 and da, 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 da. It's like, no, that's not how it works in this industry.
It reminds me of a trivia story I remember from behind the scenes of Men in Black, where Tommy Lee Jones is in some scene and he's arguing with the director over some element of the scene or something else. And he's getting all frustrated and it's bringing everything to a halt essentially. And then Tommy Lee Jones sort of stops, looks over at his assistant on the set and says, "Did my check clear this week?" And she's like, "Yes." And he turns back to the director and says, "Tell me where to stand." And just like, okay, sometimes you have to sort of bring yourself back down. Memento mori. You are not the person. You're not the end all be all. You are just one more participant in a production. But okay, so you went to all these acting schools and then you went to drama schools or whatever. Then you went to Hollywood and you couldn't find a job, or the jobs that you were offered were beneath you or something for 3.5 years. You came back to the UK, you went back to schools that said, "Oh, you're great. You're awesome." You're like, "Oh, obviously I'm great. I'm awesome." And then
it was at this time that a pivotal moment occurred that changed the trajectory of my life forever.
Please don't tell me it was George Floyd. Please, please, based on so many other presentations, please.
Seeking guidance from an industry professional, I asked for help. This is what they said.
Why do you need help? I thought all your self-doubt disappeared. But okay, no, but that's good. That's good. Okay, you saw you needed some assistance in something. So you sought some help, and then?
This is what they said. "This is Hollywood. You can't just be an actor. You got to write, direct. You got to make your own movies. You got to know every single thing there is to know about this business. Then we'll see if you still want to be an actor." Lo and behold, they were right.
Okay. I can't believe that piece of advice or something like it didn't come down the pike to you within 3.5+ years of starting on this. But okay, sure. Yeah, I haven't. I've heard so many stories of somebody who ends up on a movie set as Joe Schmo background actor or something and takes the time to be the stowaway on the pirate ship, going around and asking people like, "How do you do this? And how do you do that?" And so on and so forth. And they eventually find their place, if they do, in the whole process. I forget who it was. I think it was, what's his name? From that TV show Barry. I suddenly forget his name. The guy who stars in Barry and was on SNL and everything. Anyway.
I know who you're talking about. And I can't say his name now either.
Suddenly I blank. I'm terrible with names sometimes.
Bill Hader?
Anyway. Yeah, Bill Hader. That's who it was. And I remember seeing an interview with him where he was talking about being on I think it was he was on Collateral with Arnold Schwarzenegger as like a small part or something, or one of those big movies he was in way, way, way back in the early parts of his career, and he would go around talking to people and ask them this, that, and the other. So yeah, learn about the industry and find out stuff. Okay, so good advice, and then?
I had never written a script before, so I took their advice and wrote what I knew.
Okay.
A shitty guy at the time had just cheated on me, so I wrote about that.
Well, you're Taylor Swift levels of creative,
And I got a bunch of friends together who were also discovering their love for filmmaking. And we shot it all in one night.
Must have been a short script, but okay.
Was that a porno?
Oh, Pornhub. Or is it OnlyFans? Yeah.
This ad hoc first attempt of filmmaking was the making of me.
Okay.
We submitted that film into the LA Indie Film Festival. And would you believe it won me my first award?
Okay, well, at least by extension, sales pitch for product or service. Because now either the people there or even I, out of curiosity, might look up, okay, what movie did you do, Aletha Shepherd?
Best short.
That's short.
So I guess I have that shitty guy to thank.
Sure.
After that award and my first experience of filmmaking, I knew I wanted more. I must have made about 12 short films in the space of 4 years. I couldn't stop. I was hooked. Having an audience watch something that was in my mind come to life and connect to it in some way, it was one of the most exhilarating feelings.
Okay. So you took the bull by the proverbial horns and started doing productions, and you learned stuff. We still haven't gotten to the thesis statement. We still haven't gotten to here's the problem and here's my suggestion based on the title. We're 4 minutes into a 14-minute talk. Your life story is not an argument unless you've got something else for us. Come on.
They may not have had that exact experience or lived that life, but there was something about connecting to a large number of people.
Uh-huh.
It made you feel not so alone in this world.
So this is all about servicing your ego. Can you imagine an artist doing that? Yeah, actually, I can. Hello, audience. How's it going?
Right.
I
want to walk that back just a little bit now.
Wait a second. No, I can't criticize her for that. It's like, no, there is. I mean, when I started my YouTube channel, I thought if I get 20 people who want to pay attention to what I have to say on a regular basis, I'll be a happy guy. Because I thought, I'm just some schmuck. I'm still some schmuck. And then when I achieved 500 subscribers, I thought that is more people than I had with me in my graduating class in high school. That's more people than I knew in real life at a particular point in my time. And I was just over the moon. And it is nice to have a sense of either validation or attention to it. The question is, what do you do with that? Do you let it go to your head? Do you take it as affirmation that you're just perfect, or can do no wrong? But yes, it is satisfying though that you've entertained people or made a difference. And I've received a lot of really positive feedback from people over the years, so I appreciate that. But I still have, like I say, that little constant little portion in my brain going like,
right.
I could be just full of shit, I could be just, a bunch of hot air. So don't get, like I say, you have to have that sort of personal created memento mori behind you telling you you're still just human. You're still just a schmuck. Keep it in line. But okay, so.
Well, I have an idea of where she's going with this, but let's see here. But I'm going to make an argument for where'd it go here?
Oh, off the bingo card?
Yeah, there was one on the bingo card that I wanted to make an argument for. Now I'm not finding it now.
Okay. Oh, yeah. Plays victim is still in play.
That's one of them I was looking at. Feminism was on the board until she thanked her shitty boyfriend.
Yeah, well, yeah. Feminism. Yeah, you got to get something privilege. Well, I mean, I could see, and just so you guys know in the chat, we have to take some things we have to take over the course of the entire presentation just to be sure. But so far, she's made hints at plays victim. She's made hints at privilege because of people who had.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. She's danced around some things.
And those might be enough by the time we get to the end of the presentation. If you go more
white supremacy almost with her original accusation.
Yeah, we're getting. I'm waiting to see because this all seems to be set up, and I'm waiting for the next shoe to drop. On when she finally gets
I think self-vilification and wretchedness was where I was at right now, but I think that's where I was getting to. That or the systematic institutional thing with the whole thing before. But yeah, we'll let it slide until we get out of this.
Yeah, Matthew James, thank you so much. You are seen and heard. Oh, thank you, Matthew James. I can't survive without the constant validation of my audience. I'm glad you have a better soundboard than I do. Yeah, the self-vilification part, that's tricky because she has to effectively cite herself as a problem. And so far she hasn't cited herself as a problem, but as a victim in training.
Kind of. I was going to say she has leaned into okay, I realized I did all this stuff, it didn't work. So I went back to school and I thought that couldn't be it. And then she reeled it back in by actually saying she went to advice to get advice, and they were right. That was, I need to learn all of the industry, and now we're getting to the heart of this, where I think she's going to go with this. And I have a feeling we're going to have maybe one or two bingo things to pop off here in a minute, if I'm not wrong.
All right, so she's losing time to start making an argument, but let's see where she goes.
I mean, that goes across all forms of storytelling. It's not just film. But there's something very powerful with film, because with film, the one thing about it is it's the only medium of storytelling where you can see and have intimacy one way into seeing.
Wait, what?
One way into seeing? Is that what she said?
I mean, if you're talking about like you're constrained by the vision
Back it
of
up.
because I mean, in a book you have the theater of the mind, if that's what she's meaning.
It's not just film. But there's something very powerful with film, because with film, the one thing about it is it's the only medium of storytelling where you can see and have intimacy one way into seeing.
One way into seeing?
That's what I thought she said the first time too. I think she's trying to say what you just said.
Yeah, it's a medium that is constrained by what the director chooses and the editor chooses to put onto screen. You only have that box of vision. Now, a good writer, director, actor combination, you can have one box of events, and yet you can have various interpretations depending on how well it's constructed or the ambiguity you're pushing across. But sure, as far as a visual medium, it is boxed in, but then no different than a painting. So
did she say intimacy twice? But it still doesn't make sense then.
One way into see intimacy. Okay, let's try. Well, one more time, and then we'll move on.
One more time, yeah, because she says intimacy just before that too.
Yes. Okay.
Because with film, the one thing about it is it's the only medium of storytelling where you can see and have intimacy one way into seeing. So you could be with someone, you can watch someone, and you can watch directly into that character's eyes.
Okay, I think that's what she was saying is what we were assuming. But
intimacy. Okay.
Intimacy into the one way of seeing, I think she said.
Okay.
Which is basically what we were getting at. Yeah, you can control the point of view, which can be manipulated too. That's the other thing, you know.
Yeah, and I've seen plenty of movies where you can watch. I mean, how many movies have we seen where you watch it once and then you find out something at the end that makes you have to go back and rewatch to get a new perspective? Usual Suspects or Memento is just two examples. So yes, but okay, if she's just talking about the visual element of it, then sure. And then
you can dream into that space. You can be with them.
I think that's what she's saying is with one way into seeing is more like seeing someone else's point of view is what she's trying to say.
Right. And you're constrained by what is on filmed. Okay.
But they're not with you.
Uh-huh. Yeah, you are an observer unless it's some kind of first person thing.
Right.
And that's pretty impactful, don't you think? Because you can have these very intimate personal experiences with a wide range of people from different walks of life.
As portrayed in a fictional context, yeah, it's true. You could also get that through a documentary, but then, of course, documentaries are not necessarily objective either. Okay, yes,
And then you can put it back down and carry on.
Yes.
And there's something very powerful about
that. Sure.
How far are we into this?
We are 5 minutes into a 14-minute presentation.
She is still not, as you pointed out.
Yeah, we haven't even gotten to an argument yet. It's like, well, films are great, and I love films. It's like,
you're telling us all shit.
I keep waiting. Okie Native, thank you so much. Hearing her accent, I see why she was being offered stereotypical roles. She has the UK equivalent of trailer trash or ghetto fabulous.
Well, and she did do. Did you hear her American quote unquote accent there for a minute?
Yeah, that was yeah. She said actor. Yeah, she had a very very brief American accent on her mentor or her advice giver or whatever. But I don't know. I don't know how hard she was trying. She might have just been sort of trying to differentiate. So I can't say unless she did something.
Perhaps, but if I'm an actor and I want to show off my skills, that's one way of doing it.
Yeah. Okay. You come on, lady. You got you're 2 minutes away from the halfway point.
Former actor.
A former actor. You know your stuff.
now that I have the filmmaking bug, I find myself wanting to create and bring stories to life in ways that resonate deeply with audiences. But as exhilarating as it is, filmmaking comes with its challenges.
Okay, are we finally going to go into a thesis conflict? Something
so
you're going to
making movies is hard. Tell me something I don't know. Was it Alicia or Lisa?
Yeah, Aletha.
She's lucky I remembered.
Yeah, well, yeah. Imagine trying to bring together a group of people to work in different aspects towards a goal. Yes, there are going to be challenges because people are people, and when you have all the moving parts of a film, anyway, yes.
You have the same problem at a Taco Bell, lady.
Oh, you got to use your bell, and Mexican Iron Man's not even here. I don't know. Is that
might be listening? You never know.
Oh, that's true because he's not a YouTuber. He might be a lurker though. Okay.
Especially when it comes to financing.
Sure.
All right. So here we go.
All right, that's legit.
I soon realized that if I wanted to make a feature film, I would have to understand the business side of things.
You soon Okay, lady, I'm sorry. It seems like you're picking up wisdom backwards. It's like, did you know that you had to do this stuff to become an actor? Did you know you should like learn stuff on a set? Did you know that money is necessary to make a feature film? I can't believe that you're only.
Tell us you had zero clue about this shit before you went to Hollywood. Before you had.
I mean, okay, if she's being completely honest, if she just went into this completely naive and lacking any sort of perspective on reality, just like, I'm just going to go to Hollywood and I'm going to make it. Oh, wait, there's other stuff to learn on the set. Oh, wait, I want to make a movie. Oh, wait, I need a budget. I mean, I have to give her more credit than that. She cannot have realized these things in chronological order as she's presenting them. That doesn't make any sense. This is
slowly heading to where you want to hear my theory on where this is going, or I don't want to spoil it.
No. There's nothing to spoil. You haven't watched this.
But I don't want to sit there. Yeah, I don't. But I don't want to sit there and act like, oh, that's what I was saying beforehand, or you guys can.
No, go ahead.
Yeah. No, I think she's gonna say it's getting to the point where. This is what I was going to say before. I think she was going to get to saying, oh, it was so easy for me to make these diverse stories when I was in short film. But when I was getting to film, that's when they didn't want to hear my short story or my short story ideas anymore. It didn't translate to there because of the diversity problem. That's where I think it was going to come from. Okay. I mean, she's kind of slowly tiptoeing towards that.
Yeah.
Because now she's getting to financing. Now watch, the whole financing thing is going to wrap around. Well, they didn't want original stories or something to that effect. They just wanted superhero crap or whatever. You know what I mean? Yeah. We'll see where this goes. Okay. But that's my theory, is that she was going to say, it was great when I was making these little short films for nothing and winning all the awards, because that's what, indie film and short films are full of, right? A bunch of gay cowboys eating pudding. That's the old South Park joke, right? Because it ain't too far from the truth.
Yeah.
Faustoni, real quick. That's where she's headed.
Tony, I was going to ask if I missed anything, but if I understand Scribe and Tom, apparently we didn't miss anything yet.
Not a whole lot yet. She hasn't gotten to her thesis yet.
She's building up. She's a lot of forestalling. Now maybe we're getting into it, that she's getting down the nitty gritty of financing. So here we go.
So I reached out to a film sales agent with the thought that it's probably best to ask the people who sell films for a living to see if my film ideas are any good.
Yes, subject matter experts.
Okay, well, at least she's open to the idea that her ideas might not be for the masses. I'll give her that.
Yeah, all right.
I spent hours crafting my pitches.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
But none of them seemed to capture her interest.
Okay.
As a last-ditch attempt, as she was just about to leave, I pitched her something that happened to me years ago.
Was it a boyfriend that dumped you? I mean, that's been your success so far, but okay, what happened?
Story that started it all. No,
I hadn't formulated it, and I simply expressed just what I had gone through.
Which are you going to tell us what it is? If you're just going to say it in the abstract, that really will frustrate me, and I'm circling leaves out vital context. Because if this is the turning point, we have to know the details. So
yeah,
please.
She's been awfully vague and hovering around that for a while. I agree with you.
Instantly, she was hooked. She was like, if you can find money for that and get it made, I can sell that film.
Well, I mean, the onus is on you. Admittedly, the onus is on you. Okay, you asked an expert if this sounds like a sellable idea, and they give you their opinion. All right, and now you just have to okay. All right. And then?
So here I was trying to come up with cool ideas. And all I had to do was take a look at myself and take a piece of my lived experience.
Oh, lived experience! What did I say at the top of the show? Did I say it? I said it. I said it.
Which bingo card does that mark? Or which bingo?
Well, it doesn't. There's no bingo square for lived experience. No. That was just my prediction on a portion of argumentation.
There should be a second spot, considering we both made a prediction-ish, where like prediction comes true. Yeah.
Oh, maybe I should I make free space? Maybe I should make like a wild card for psychic or something. Anyway, it's
something like that. It would be fun.
But okay, your lived experience. What was your lived experience? What was your big idea? And I've heard similar stories like this before of people making pitch meetings and things, and someone just throws out, I had this crazy idea about this time traveling pie or something. Like, oh my God, that sounds great. You know, what happened?
My films that I have made that have had the most success have been based on elements of my life.
Wow, that sounds very okay. I mean, that might be dangerously reaffirming of how awesome you are, but okay, tell us about this one.
They're successful because they're based on reality.
Well, you just talked about one person's perspective. So it's your reality. But okay, and?
Examples of what it's like to be a human.
Everything's an example of what it's like to be a human. What are you talking about?
Armed with this knowledge, I took a look at myself.
What have you been doing since you embarked on this career? I'm awesome. I can be an actress. I have no doubts anymore because my school said I'm cool. Every film I've made that's been successful has been about me. And
I'm a Black woman. From a Caribbean heritage. Who was born and raised in Britain.
And none of those things say anything about who you are. Not a thing. You could take all those attributes and apply them to saints and sinners, and it wouldn't mean anything. So what?
Experiencing firsthand the impact of my authenticity and how it connects and resonates with audiences the most, I began to understand the importance of a multitude of diverse voices.
Diversity, equity, and/or inclusion. Circling that one on the board. You came to recognize what does this have to do with what you make and the quality thereof? Because now, again, we're getting into, all right, aesthetics are aesthetics. You have to give us the merit part of it. Now, like I said, none of the things you listed off say anything about your ability. You could take those three elements, that you're a Black woman with a Caribbean heritage or something, and apply them to a successful actress. But
I was going to say,
that wouldn't be you.
She's a crappy writer or idea person, because the only things that seem to resonate with anybody are shit that did actually happen in her real life. So,
right? Yeah. Where's the creativity? Where's the imagination?
Yeah.
I mean, it's not just. Yeah, I mean, truth can be stranger than fiction, and you can take elements of your real life and turn into really good stories. Not saying that's not possible, but occasionally you have to at least, maybe extend yourself or challenge yourself to come up with something original or inspired by, but okay.
Audiences the most, I began to understand the importance of a multitude of diverse voices and how important they are to the cinematic experience.
Why? What do you mean by diverse? What specifically is being contributed on the basis of quote unquote diverse? I mean, so far, diverse is your race, your gender, and your heritage. That's it. And what do those specifically contribute to the process? Now you've set up your thesis, or a thesis statement. I don't know if it's the one that you're going to stick with, but now you have to back it up with facts or evidence and so on in the body of your persuasive essay.
Yeah, I mean, she even brought up the fact that she has Caribbean heritage, but was born and raised in the UK. So what difference? Right. It wasn't like you were born in the Caribbean, raised there for several years, and then moved to the UK. Well, there you could say, well, there's an experience of me going from one thing to another. You know what I mean?
Well,
Like,
I mean, if her
experience.
family were immigrants and they brought their immediate culture with them, and then she had a mix of that and the UK being raised therein.
She
Okay,
hasn't said that though. That's what
no,
I'm saying.
she hasn't said that. No, she hasn't said that.
Yeah,
But I
that's
mean,
why she's a horrible storyteller, because she doesn't even give you great context. So I'm getting to the point about going over leaving out vital context here.
we're getting
really
there,
hovering around it.
We're building up to here. Now we have potentially our thesis statement. Okay, thesis statement, and it goes along with the title. There's a difference between the title and the actual presentation. So, diversity contributes to film.
By diversifying cinema, we have the opportunity to bridge gaps between factors such as race, sex, religion, disability, and social economical status.
When has modern cinema not touched upon all of those elements at one time or another?
That's what I was just thinking. Tell me something I don't know about cinema.
Yeah, this is not some grand revelation of the modern day. Disability. I think of there's a movie. It's Water Dance. You ever see Water Dance?
Mm-mm.
It was about a guy who got I think it was paralyzed neck down or something. And God, I forget the actors. I think it was oh God, what was his name? The guy who was originally cast in Back to the Future.
Oh, Eric Stoltz.
I think it was Eric Stoltz. Somebody in the chat will probably correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe it was Eric Stoltz or something to that effect. And he played a guy who had been either like paralyzed from the waist down or from the neck down or something. And the whole movie is effectively him having to cope with this change in his life and being married and maintain a relationship and everything. And I'm just thinking like, oh, a movie about disability. Like there's been endless numbers of movies about disability, endless number of movies about race or racial tensions and religion.
Going back to the 1960s, at least, if not further. Yeah.
Yeah. So
even through allegory, much further.
Yeah. So she's not, if those are the kind of movies she's making or is involved in making, she's not bringing anything new to the table. That's not to say you can't have a new take or an interesting story about those subjects, but the subjects alone are not somehow taboo or they've never been done before. Thank you, Kiever Dam. I'm white and female. Am I half diverse? Yes. Although
you're diverse
not
just because you're female, period.
Right. Yeah. Anything that diverts from straight white male is by degrees diverse. So you are marginally diverse. You're halfway there. Now, if you could just throw in some more irrelevant elements of your makeup and background that set you apart from
in most rooms, you would be diverse
ish these days. I mean,
I don't know, because white women are running this game. That's the problem.
Well, white women also helped put Donald Trump into office, so they're immediately also questionable just on that. And too many white women.
So many.
Yeah, too many white women in International Women's Day a couple of years ago and so on, when they had parades, that was a problem because there wasn't enough diversity amongst the white women. So anyway, you need to work at it, Kiever.
You're talking almost like a small portion.
Yeah, exactly. All right. So anyway, these subjects that are apparently never been touched on before, and suddenly now they're new to you.
Studies have shown that Black and Asian audiences are already frequent cinema goers.
Studies have shown. Are you telling me that movies are popular around the world?
I love how she left out Hispanic, which is actually the second largest demographic. But anyway.
More than the national average, even when they don't see themselves represented on screen.
Oh my gosh, people sometimes like entertainment for the sake of entertainment? I can't believe it. Do you mean to tell me that I watched Blade back in the 90s and I appreciated it?
I was going to say the percentage probably would be the same for me, just in reverse for the amount of stuff that I watch that isn't starring a white male lead.
Tom, I got a story. I know it might sound amazing, might sound completely uncredible. I liked and watched on multiple occasions in my youth New Jack City. I know it's hard to believe. I enjoyed that film and the performances therein.
Well, I have a bigger confession to make. I'm wearing a Beverly Hills Cop t-shirt.
Oh, what? No. What? Beverly Hills Cop T-shirt. What? Hold on, for those of you in the chat, hold on. Let me. Oh, I can't. Okay, I was about to zoom in on you to show off your T-shirt.
Oh, go ahead.
Oh, is it? Yeah,
it just says Beverly Hills Cop, but I mean, still, the implication being.
Yeah, how could you celebrate such a thing when you're not represented? I mean, I guess Judge Reinhold.
It's almost like a double whammo. You got black guy in the lead, plus it's about a cop. Oh my god.
I know. Also, just as a little here, I got in the chat. My good friend, Satsu 2 Cents is here. Who is she fooling? We aren't smart enough to comprehend the actions of the unmelanated. Yeah, I know. Right? you just don't know. I mean, if you see somebody on the screen that doesn't look like you, it's just like suddenly it all becomes like the Tower of Babel and you can't even understand what the hell's going on.
Anyway, we need to get back into this before I lose where we were because I'm about ready to like circle like 5 things already.
All right.
Even when they don't see themselves represented on screen.
Even when?
Imagine the impact for growth if they did.
You mean like the impact for growth?
There we go.
So only like should observe like in movies, or suddenly there's a magical connection just on the basis of race or ethnicity.
Basically giving the woke argument right now is what she's doing.
Well, this is the same.
So can I just circle the whole bingo card now?
No. That's you circle the whole card for a WTF moment when they say something that's just so profoundly bug nuts that I have a special stinger.
Fair enough.
But no, she's making a similar argument to what we saw. Well, did the guy make it? I guess that was one of the things. Anyway, I've heard this oftentimes when it comes to education. I've been told on several occasions that students have a better academic overall experience when they have at least one teacher of color, and especially students that can see themselves in their teacher as they go through their academic career, as though simply having a similar skin tone imparts some kind of magical improvement to one's ability to process information or take tests or something. So in this case, so in this case, it's if I don't see myself on screen, I don't have as good a time as if I do. Or something.
What good does it do if that teacher, let's say, is only hired for their skin color and they suck?
Well, we're not talking merit here. We're just talking aesthetics.
That's what I'm saying.
The question is, if she wants to bring up, excellent films where you can relate to the character, maybe, but not necessarily, because then why the hell would I watch Blade or what was that? The Nick Cage, Samuel L. Jackson movie, was that Amos and Andrew? Like, movies like that where you've got, anyway, I just think for some reason I thought
it is a really stupid argument I've heard. And this is why I brought it back to this. This is the woke argument, right? Because their argument is, well, you guys have had your representation for years. We need somebody on screen so we can relate to them. It's like, oh, so you're saying I can only relate to characters that are white and male. Is that what you're saying?
But she's also
completely false.
She's also implying that there hasn't been, for decades upon decades, a market in films made by, what would she bring up? She said black and Asian.
Which is the other fallacy.
Yeah, it's like there's
we don't have a whole Korean film market or anything, or anime market or anything like that at all.
Oh man, and the Korean shows on Netflix and stuff, some of these things I've seen blow American productions completely out of the water. Sometimes with their quality.
Yeah, not to mention how much they do try to integrate and everything in film now. It's always been that way. I mean, I always go back to films like, In the Heat of the Night is one of the earliest ones where it really kind of tackled the race thing. And that's 60 plus years old now.
Yeah, In the Heat of the Night, Mississippi Burning. God, Rosewood. I mean, I think of all types of different things like that. But anyway,
tons of stuff. So it's tackled all these kind of things already.
Okay, so
but anyway, the end of my point is basically if you go by that mentality, then I shouldn't be able to relate to movies like Short Circuit and Rocky,
right?
Because I'm not a 30-something, never has been wannabe boxer who's Italian. I can't relate to that somehow. No, you relate to the idea that he has a dream. Everybody has a dream, right? Same thing with Short Circuit. Number 5's a darn robot. But he finally discovers life, whether it's an impossibility, an improbability, or a malfunction. The movie makes a good argument that number 5 is alive. He is a sentient being now because he got struck by lightning, got touched by the hand of God, and I can relate to him. Every kid can relate to number 5. because every kid finds himself in a situation. That's every day growing up as a little child. I have no idea what I'm doing, where I am, or what the hell's going on. I need input now, right? Like one thing or the other. But anyway, I just wanted to say that. Sorry.
Impact for growth if they did. By authentically portraying diverse backgrounds, we not only increase cinema audience engagement, but we contribute to a more inclusive and represented industry that allows people to be seen. And
okay, hold on. All right, so I'm going to go to collectivize.
Wouldn't this fall under collectivizes?
I'm collectivizing on demographic for one particular thing, is because she said very explicitly that her best films and her most successful pitch and everything else dealt with her life. And then immediately she extends that out to representing a culture, a background or something. So she took it from the individual and is now associating it with, oh, I am representative of demographic in my storytelling, which is, no, sorry, you don't get to make that move. If you want to make an individual case for yourself, that's one thing. But then to say that then, oh, I am now an avatar of an entire culture or ethnicity or something, right. No.
Because I actually liked how she started off with, even though it went nowhere, with the whole idea that she was a woman of Caribbean heritage, brought up in the UK, which is kind of hinting at that I was a black person brought up in a very white atmosphere, right? She didn't step on it, but she was stating that. But now instead of doing, anyway, you kind of know where I'm going with this. Go ahead.
Yeah.
We got to do this friggin' video. Sorry.
Okay. No, it's all right. Advocatus brings up a good point. Contradiction. She was on about stereotypes. Now she's advocating a new set of stereotypes.
Yeah.
That is also true. So I'm going to circle.
Really, she keeps dancing around the fact that this is because I'm black, y'all.
Yeah. Contradicts own pointer argument, circling that one on the board. So far on the board, we have diversity, equity, and inclusion, contradicts own pointer argument, free space, childhood or family anecdote, sales pitch for product or service, and lastly, collectivizes own demographic. Okay, let's keep going. And there's a couple others on there that we can probably circle here pretty quick, but we'll see.
To a more inclusive and represented industry that allows people to be seen and heard.
Okay, you know what? Just by implication, white supremacy, because the opposite of what she's saying, like the lack of this, that, and the other. So I'm going to circle white supremacy. Also going to circle plays victim, because I think we've gotten there at this point. Let's keep going.
It's evident that progress has been made in recent years.
Oh, well, thank you for that concession. Recent years? What kind of progress?
With a rise in representation across various demographics.
Okay, so if the problem is being mitigated by progress, what is your complaint?
Yeah, well, go ahead.
Yet there is still more work to be done.
Of course.
All right, never mind. I'm going to put up systematic and institutional at this point.
Systemic, institutional? Okay.
Yeah, or systemic. Yeah, sorry. Did I say systematic? I mean,
that's okay.
You know what I meant. Yeah, that's where we're at. She's already kind of, I'm almost ready to circle white supremacy at this point, too.
Oh, I already circled it.
Oh, you did? Okay, I missed that one in. Because we've gotten to this point now where she's clearly going with this idea. It's pretty much gone where I've said you were right too about her other bit. Yeah.
And you know, but between other things too, if not explicitly, she's also essentially hinted at unconscious bias.
I was thinking of that too.
Yeah. So circling that one, and strangely enough,
we have a bingo.
Because of that, if you can believe it.
Oh, won't somebody please?
Bingo. B-I-N-G-O.
Okay.
Right?
There you go. Our first bingo, everybody. Down the diagonal.
We're getting
bingo
close on a couple other ones here.
Yeah, I know. We're closing in on a couple.
And for example.
Sorry, let me back up a little bit. I did cut her off.
Yeah.
All right.
The rise in representation across various demographics. Yet there is still more work to be done. Women, for example, make up half the population.
And?
But then, shouldn't 50% of writers and directors be women?
No.
What about oil workers?
Yeah.
Sewage workers.
You know? Yeah. How about that? Men make up 50% of the population. Shouldn't men be 50% of all teachers? All care workers?
You know what? 100% of men can't have babies.
That is true. So, and with that little comment and her attitude in delivering it, I'm going to circle benevolent condescension. Just circle that one.
Condescension. Oh, we're getting so close.
I know.
This whole thing is turning into word salad almost at this point. But
well, I mean, her. If I give her the benefit of the doubt and extend a little bit of credit, all of her lead up before she started trying to make an argument might not be word salad. It might have just been prep, but at the same time, it was also just fluffs. But we'll wait and see. And weightless example might not be far away either. We already had an argument for leaves out vital context, didn't we?
We danced around it because she hasn't. We're giving her the benefit that she might bounce back to some of these things. But
yeah, I was waiting for her to tell us about her films.
She never did tell the story though of what that first story was. She just alluded to the fact that it was like her first story, which was personal. Yeah. Just didn't tell us what it was. So actually, I think you were going to give her that if that was the case.
Yeah, I'm gonna. I'll wait. Maybe she'll come back and talk about making.
Otherwise, is feminism gone yet or privilege?
She has to be privilege. The networking part of it.
I'm gonna go with it.
Yeah, I'll circle privilege for that one. Feminism needs something a little bit more explicit.
All right.
If she starts talking about the
she's
role,
dancing around too much race right now.
Well, she's just talked about female directors.
Feminism. That's
true.
She
just talked about female directors, so we might be there in spirit. Let's see.
Barbie is a great case study.
What? Barbie.
Well, she just said that there's only 50% women in the world. And then
Barbie?
Basically, she's about to tell us that there's too many men in the industry. You wait. That's why I was hinting at.
I didn't understand what she said. Hold on.
And of writers and directors be women. Barbie is a great case study.
Oh, Barbie. Is it Barbie? Yeah. I thought that was like a nightclub or something.
Who would have known that a movie about a doll made for women by women would be the highest grossing movie of last year?
Tom, with your inside baseball knowledge of the industry, was that a big surprise to people?
No, not really. That's why I raised my hand. I'm one of those people who said this movie's going to make $1 billion. And there was even people in our circle who were like, no, it's going to make $1 billion. Especially once I saw that trailer.
Yeah.
Because I said, if they had a He-Man trailer that was that loyal to the toy, or you know what I mean? Like a movie.
Yeah.
We'd all go because that's what girls have been wanting. Barbie's been around for 70 years. Not 7D. 7D. That's a lot of generations. Right? And the movie, outside of blowing the ending, actually isn't that bad. That's just my personal opinion, but a lot of people loved it. So many people loved it that it's one of the biggest films of last year, if not the biggest film of last year, I believe.
Yep.
And it's a franchise. It's a property. Now, if you were to tell me like some little Joe Blow knows something by director this, woman director did something, then I'd listen. This is not a good example.
Well, yeah, between Margot Robbie, Ryan Gosling, and the marketing campaign, I don't think it had anything to do with the made by women part of it. They tried
this
to
is like saying men like movies. Look at Spider-Man.
Yeah. So that played it up. Now, when it was originally, when Barbie was originally supposed to be Amy Schumer, I would have loved to see what the outcome of that one was. Probably
Bingo.
A lot lesser. Yeah.
Now, why ain't she talking? Well, of course, this is before this, but look at Furiosa as another example right now for a modern example. There you go.
Well, MC, but here's the thing. If George Miller was Georgina Miller, it'd be $1 billion film, Tom.
But the beauty of it is I'm slamming a bunch of idiots on X, and sorry to those who are any involved in that. But, you know, he had a feminist writer working with him on Fury Road, the actual writer of the vagina monologues.
Yep. Okay, so yes, who would have thought that Barbie would be several people apparently, but yeah, your point is what? I mean, so every movie with a female lead directed by females is going to be great. Well, tell me about Charlie's Angels. Yeah. Oh wait, that's right. It didn't do that well, did it?
You would probably.
Yeah, the if the recipe for a successful film is just put all women in it.
What about Cocaine Bear?
Well, I mean, did that star women? It starred a bear.
No, but it had a director.
Well, the bear was a mother bear, wasn't it? Wasn't that a mommy bear?
It's true.
I think so.
That's true.
Okay. Anyway.
The highest grossing movie of last year. You all would have probably laughed until it was done. But that film...
Oh, well, you all would have probably laughed. Uh-oh, mind reading or assumes motives. Circling that one on the board.
Yeah, that's pretty generalized. I don't
I
know if there was a lot of people may not have thought Barbie would have made $1 billion, but I don't think there was that many people who wouldn't agreed with you that it was probably going to be a hit with Margot Robbie as Barbie, like you were just pointing out. Had it had Amy Schumer in the title role, that'd have been a different story.
Yeah, and as Tony Giff rightly points out, Wonder Woman 84 failed. That's true. Starred a woman, directed by a woman, I think probably written by Patty Jenkins as well, and so that is not an automatic recipe for success. It really depends on the IP and the marketing and ultimately the quality of the film.
And there's some people that would argue that the only reason the first movie was a hit, especially after seeing 84, it helps support this. As much as I hate giving Snyder credit, there's people that say he came in and worked with her on it. And not only that, reworked the movie itself because it wasn't working in test screenings.
All right, but Barbie was successful, and then
resonated so deeply with audiences, far greater than the creators could have ever imagined.
Are you jealous?
By expand.
Oh, wait, that was a movie about a white woman in a white world with a whole bunch of stuff. I mean, are you sure?
Is this the pretty diverse, but the main one was white. You're right.
That's true.
By expanding the landscape of the types of stories being told.
What?
We can truly showcase the depth and breadth of the human experience.
What? Okay, I haven't seen Barbie. I'll admit I haven't seen Barbie. How did Barbie expand the depth and breadth of the human experience?
By giving Barbie a vagina.
Okay, great. And then?
Each unique perspective adding another layer to the narrative, enriching our understanding of the world.
Also, sky is blue, water is wet. Uh-huh.
And fostering empathy.
Oh my God. Fostering empathy. Are we at that point now? Is that your argument? Empathy. Yeah, if I don't see people who don't look like me on screen, then I will lack a basic building block of human compassion.
I watched a lot of diverse films before this modern era.
Mm-hmm.
Watched films from all sorts of walks of life. I've watched all sorts of levels of films.
Mm-hmm.
I used to be a very avid independent film watcher back when it was a little bit easier to actually keep up with the movies that were coming out.
Mm-hmm.
They were very diverse. I've seen things from like all sorts of like Eve's Bayou to some of the movies we've already mentioned to Basketball Diaries, which is a great documentary from back in the day, to all sorts of things you can name from all sorts of different walks of life and areas at different points, because a white fat man told me about him.
Mm-hmm.
His name was Roger Ebert.
Right.
That's how I found out about most of these things. It wasn't because of any other reason. It wasn't that I would have been interested in him necessarily, but it's because he said, I liked this movie. And then he showed a little bit of it, and it either looked interesting to me or it didn't. And if it looked interesting to me, I'd check it out.
The issue I'm having with her chain of logic here is not that seeing a story that is unique to an individual or is a unique story in and of itself can't give you a look into a different side of life or a different perspective on people in general. That's fine. The problem I have is that she's tying experience and perspective back to aesthetics, that someone with a particular skin color possesses just automatically a unique perspective.
Well, and Woman King kind of destroys her whole argument.
Well, that's also a good point too. Yeah, she wouldn't bring up a movie that failed and still had all the elements that she was excited about. She'll only bring up the winners. So, but okay, let me back up a little bit here. All right.
Perspective, adding another layer to the narrative, enriching our understanding of the world and fostering empathy. Because when you watch a film and you find that sweet spot between the familiar and the unique, and you get to experience it through someone else's eyes, that helps to build empathy and understanding.
Could, maybe, but again, what are you basing the idea of perspective on? You've tied it to gender and race and ethnicity. And if you believe that someone's race determines their perspective or their background or their lived experience or something without knowing anything else about them. There's a word for that. I don't know if you're aware of it.
Racist?
Once I was immersed in the industry, I got to see the landscape for what it truly is.
Oh, what is it truly?
I understood the barriers and challenges that marginalized groups face when accessing opportunities.
Marginalization.
Groups.
Yep. Okay. Are you going to tell us what those barriers and challenges are? I mean, maybe there are some. I don't know about the UK. Maybe you encountered something in specific. You have to give us some details. You haven't told us what your movies were about. You haven't told us about the difficulties you had. You didn't even tell us how you achieved financial backing for your projects.
How far are we into this?
We are now just about 10 minutes into a 14-minute presentation.
Okay, I'm about ready to circle leaves out context.
Yeah,
she's left out a lot of vital context.
She really needs to give us some examples. What challenges did you encounter, and how did you either mitigate them or surpass them? This is what I want to hear. Whether I believe her story or not, she has built up so much at this point. She has to give us, for the sake of the integrity of her presentation, she has to give us at least an example and some method by which she overcame it. Come on now, you can do it.
And yet,
no.
When diverse stories are successful,
define a diverse story. If I take King Arthur and I change nothing else,
Barbie.
Yeah, I guess so. But I was going to say like a diverse story. If I take the King Arthur myth and I just change all the characters to female, or I change all the characters to Pacific Islander or something, is that a diverse story, or is that just King Arthur with a different set of actors? As
in her eyes, the answer would be yes.
Probably yes. Yeah, because aesthetics are the only thing that matters.
They're often seen as anomalies or flukes rather than indicative of a broader demand for representation.
Woman king. Tom brought up a very excellent example. An entire movie that centers women as the quote-unquote heroes of the story, produced, written, etc. by women. And how well did that do?
Double diverse. That's what I'm getting at too.
Double diverse.
This begs the question. Why aren't we doing more to amplify diverse voices?
Are you out of your gourd? Have you been asleep for the last at least 8 years that I've been doing my YouTube channel?
All right. First of all, she needs to be more specific anyway.
Yes.
Because what is because she keeps dancing around with words like diverse when we really know what she means. Just say black, honey. Just fucking say it and get it over with.
Well,
because that's what you're saying.
Yeah.
They're not white. Well, here's the problem with that. You break down these demographics, like I said earlier, and I'm sorry I'm getting heated with this because it's passionate for me, but I brought this up because we have Midnight's Edge Espanol for a reason. And the biggest reason is because the second biggest demographic in movies is Latinos, right? So, or the Latin, because it's Latino and Latina, the Latin community, right? A large portion of that being the Mexican community or whatever. So, point being is that is a huge demographic. That's second to white. Then you hit black, right? And then the other ones are kind of all clumped into one because they make up such a small demographic, right? And what's going to get me to this next point, this stuff doubling down, or when you've already doubled down, because we have quadrupled down at this point, because like we've been hinting at ourselves, she's leaving out a lot of context here about how cinema has been for the last 50 years.
Yeah,
she's leaving out that we've had blaxploitation, we've had the civil rights movement portrayed in films in many ways, we've had it to where it's no longer a situation where, I don't know what movies and shows she was going up for recently, but I made the point was, earlier, it's like, yeah, I can understand back in the day, people like Samuel Jackson stuff were like, all I was getting was thug number 1 or gang member number 2. Well, it's not that way anymore. You have actors like Will Smith and Denzel Washington and other guys who are doing roles that would traditionally be offered to anybody, or a white guy for that matter, and they didn't get the role just because they're black, right? That's the point. We have come so far past that. Where is she even getting this from? Because the other part of it is you have like people over at Netflix, for example, in the LGBTQ community, who are saying we've got this much representation. They represent, I think, like 20%, I think, of the entertainment on Netflix right now, I think was the number. And they're like, well, we need more. and you actually go up to look at the demographic of the actual world that is that, it's like you're overcompensating by so much. There is no more audience for you. This is another great example of this is that, and to take it away from the race thing, is that the Bros movie. Bros, the only reason it was a failure is because you made a little indie movie on a huge studio budget and then expected the general audience to go see it. That is not how this works. That is the type of movie that shouldn't cost more than $1 million and be sold on the indie market, where it will make $4 or $5 million and then be a little critical darling for the next 20 years that people refer to when they talk about, oh, there was this cute little comedy about a gay couple called Bros. You know, like that's what it used to be. But guess what? It's going to be tough to sell a mainstream audience. I don't care when it is now, 20 years ago, 50 years ago, on something like that. But we're not even going to that extreme. What representation is she talking about? Because we already have quite a bit of representation already, I would say.
Yeah, there's sorry.
No, and that's it. I was just going to say, and I don't know where she's getting this from, because growing up, my favorite actor was Will Smith and Eddie Murphy before that. What the hell is she talking about?
Well, you can't justify your victimhood unless the victimhood is perpetual. You can't justify complaining unless you say there's something to complain about to the same or greater degree than what has happened in the past. And the problem that she's got is just reality. The reality of her complaint that we need to elevate voices, diverse voices, etc. Netflix has a whole initiative that they don't talk about much anymore, and I'm not even sure how active they are about it, called Strong Black Lead, where they would greenlight and up productions where either the people behind the camera or certainly in front of the camera were specifically Black. I did a video on this. Netflix put out a promotional video talking about this that was suspiciously deleted from their channel about 3 days after I did my reaction video to it. I'm not saying I caused that, but all the same, I think my video is the only record it ever existed. Or where they talk about this and try to play it up and try to justify their thinking behind it. And the idea that DEI, both in entertainment and education and business and elsewise, has not been the go-to and the front runner of ideologies for the last decade or so. She's talking about it as though this is, again, all this stuff is, did you know that films can give you a perspective on a different part of the world? Did you know that you have to actually find financing for films? Did you know that you can do better films if you have some more ideas about what goes on behind the camera? This sounds so Johnny-come-lately nonsense, both to reality and just sort of like even a person who doesn't think that hard about these things would think themselves, gosh, maybe I should know how these things work before I get into this industry.
Right. Like
she's talking backwards. Yeah.
And that was what I was saying earlier too. It's not like she's coming into this as a brand new person, right? It's not like she just came fresh off the boat, not to be punny about it, into Hollywood, fresh faced and green, not knowing what this is all about. She said she worked in the UK first. Then she decided she was going to try her hand in Hollywood. Then all of a sudden she's discovering all this crap. Honey, if you were 5 and telling me this, then I'd be impressed. You are not. You're more like 25 or 35 at this point. Good for you. I can't tell which, somewhere in between there. But the problem is you shouldn't, like you just said, Scribe, you should have known most of this stuff going into the industry. You're not telling us anything we don't know. Now, if you were framing it in a way that you were trying to, inform the audience, maybe, but it's coming off in a way like she is telling us like she's learning all this stuff at this time period. And it's like, what did you do for the last 3 or 4 years while you were in the industry? Yeah. Exactly.
The other thing too is if this presentation was taking place, let's say 10 or 12 years ago, then it might be something slightly unique or what you don't hear that often or whatever.
But even still, you're getting to a point like, oh my God, guess what, folks? You need money to make a movie.
Yeah, well, not only that, but I'm talking about the argument to increased diversification. This is if anybody in this proverbial room can say it, this is not a new argument. This is something that's been said for years. There have been initiatives going on. There have been billions of dollars put into this. So for her to say what we need is more focus on this is like, it's had it. And this is the result. You are living in the result of billions of dollars of that movement.
Okay, what I have a feeling now, here's my next prediction where this is going to go. Okay, so what she's trying to say is if you have more Black people or more diversity, and that's the word she's using, diversity, in movies, more of those people will come to see said movie, right? Unless like this is the whole woke mentality from the start. Now, what she's going to say is she couldn't get the funding because they don't think there's an audience for it, but she's going to say, well, I proved that there is an audience for it or something to that effect is what it's going to boil down to.
Well, Barbie's evidence of that. Yeah.
Yeah, or whatever. Because the point is that no, it only works in certain cases unless you are hitting a certain stride like Barbie, where Marvel's Woman King. How many more examples do I need to come up with where they were female driven, female directors, female written, all that kind of stuff? The Eternals. Do we need any more? Where
She-Hulk.
Only She-Hulk. That's a TV show, but still, like on a certain demographic, they don't work. But when you like look at Star Trek Discovery, if we want to go with television shows, right? That show has been nothing but a disaster since the moment it premiered. Why? Because most of the writers and producers on that worked on shit like Gilmore Girls. Well, guess what? Gilmore Girls works if you got a bunch of female diverse writers on there. Because that's the audience that you're playing to. And I'm not saying a woman can't write these things, but they have to understand. They have to know and love and get what it is makes these things lovable for the fans, right? Or what makes them gravitate towards them.
Just have to make a quality product.
Or a quality product, in general.
That's all. Yeah, whether it's an established IP or something quasi original like, Woman King or something else.
Right.
Yeah, ultimately it's going to come down to the quality of it.
Well, I just saw Beekeeper. Now I know it's directed by David Ayer, but I couldn't care less if it was directed by a woman. If it was the same movie.
I didn't even pay attention to, like, I've had this. There was a class in college or something that I didn't take, but some friends of mine did, and was all about we're going to look at books written by female authors, and I thought to myself, okay, well, unless the book is specifically about being a female, why would I you could tell me this book is written by Jessie Smith. And either it's a good book or it's a bad book. If you tell me afterwards, oh, Jessie's a girl, like, oh, and like, what is it? Anyway, I could go on.
Well, we're getting close to another bingo, I think, here with self-vilification and leaves out context. So let's.
Well, not sure about the self-vilification yet. She has.
This whole thing is leading up to her self-vilification.
No. Well, okay. She has to make her. So the classic example of self-vilification that I use is if somebody gets up on a stage is talking about white privilege and they themselves are white and they say something to the effect of, I realize now that I was contributing to a system of oppression. That is self-vilification. In this one, she's played victim. I suppose
you're right. Yeah, you're right.
She's played victim. Right. She hasn't said yet that she was contributing to the problem and making some sort of penance for it. Now, she
has accepted certain things though, but you're right. You're not. It hasn't gone to that point yet. You're right.
Yeah. So, but we'll see. There might be a good argument there, but we only got 4 minutes. Let's go.
Why aren't we doing more to amplify diverse voices, especially when we know they resonate more deeply with audiences?
No. Resonate more deeply with specific audiences as representation. You told us it's not about everybody. It's about you have to see yourself, because otherwise you've already defeated. Again, look at any number of films where the vast majority of audiences put their money down and they didn't look like the people in the movie.
I would even go as far as to say we've been excluded for so long that when something goes well, it's seen as a surprise rather than a testament to the untapped potential of diverse storytelling.
Give us an example.
Gotta be a spot. That's got to be a spot on the board.
Not unless she doesn't follow it up. Give us an example. You gave us your only example so far.
Well, we already did marginalize, so I guess she already did that.
No, she has to give us an example because we've already had leaves out vital context. She gave us Barbie. Your only example so far of cinematic anything has been Barbie.
Well, that's a weightless example, if you ask me.
Well, if she doesn't, well, it could be. It could be. Well, let's see. Okay, so you've set this up now. So what do you have as an example? Come on.
But the reality is there is a significant commercial incentive to embracing diversity and inclusion in the industry.
Oh, so now we get to a financial incentive. Okay, so it's not about the moral and societal benefit. Okay, now you get down to the brass tacks of money. Okay, and what is your argument for that?
McKinsey and companies
no, McKinsey and Company. Jesus Christ. If you ever want to have a go-to research think tank to justify and underpin any DEI argument, McKinsey is the place to go. I cannot count how many times McKinsey's been brought up, and their skewed, self-realized nonsense that people have used as backing up their arguments for diversity and DEI stuff. But okay, tell us what McKinsey has to say.
Inclusion in the industry. McKinsey and Company's research shows that the film and TV industry could potentially unlock an additional $10 billion in revenue by addressing barriers of equality and inclusion.
Oh, and they've never done anything about that. Yeah, exactly. Where does that extra $10 billion come from?
Because here's the thing about this argument that I guess is never I'm sure other people have come to this conclusion, but I don't know if it's ever been worded this way, is that have they ever stopped to think that, yes, there are black people, there are other people of diversity, whatever you want to call it, that watch movies. Maybe because they're movie fans. Just because you make something that's specifically for black people or for gay people or whatever does not mean you're going to bring all of a sudden a bunch of those people to the audience. Don't work that way.
Bros, woman, king.
Exactly.
Yeah, because people, regardless of where you come from or what your background is or your aesthetic or your lifestyle, whatever else, if the movie's no good, it's not going to make any money. I mean, there have been lousy movies out there.
Pull a Black Panther out of her ass.
Well, that is one that's usually a go-to for this. It's like, Black Panther showed.
It's also Barbie's is a new Black Panther, basically.
But here's the thing. If she brought up Black Panther, that would go against her argument, because how could a movie that stars almost exclusively black actors, was directed by a black man, etc., how could that have resonated so well with the entire population of the planet? Because that goes completely against her argument that somehow if you have a production that is anything other than white, it won't make it.
Well, they would probably try to lead you to believe that only black people went to see that, and that's why it was so successful.
But that would be a lie.
Do you remember the whole thing with the second one where we were supposed to get out of their way so they could get in opening weekend? Like there was going to be people breaking down the door to get into the second one.
Yeah. Oh man. Okay. Anyway.
So as a new filmmaker, I would be silly not to try and tap into that abundant opportunity.
If you say so. So tell us your success story. You haven't told us anything about your own efforts other than you've made them in the most abstract ways. She really is. And so
not only is telling people's authentic stories important on a cultural and societal level.
You don't say.
But it also makes sound business sense.
Give us an example. You have to have one from your own experience.
How many have we come up with already?
I know. Come on, give us. You have to. Okay, this has been all foreplay and no payoff. You have to give us an example of what you're talking about. Barbie was a successful movie made and starring women. Okay, great. And there's been plenty of counterexamples to that, which you just conveniently forget. But okay, you're now at the point where you're arguing that diverse films can pay off. And your example, even if it's the most generous example, is...
It's time.
No, it's for God's sakes.
That we acknowledge the commercial value of diversity.
Then okay, I've been asking this question for years.
She could have even pulled out a Frozen and she hasn't yet.
Okay, here's the problem that I've encountered throughout my channel's entire existence is that every time I ask, okay, show me where a company instituted a DEI program and on day one, their numbers were at this, and then by 2 months later, 2 years later, their numbers went up to here. Show me the direct line between instituting a diversity, equity, and inclusion program and the automatic and demonstrable benefit in bottom line to a company. And you know what keeps happening in the real world? DEI budgets get cut and cut, roles get reduced because there is no inherent value. There's no inherent return on investment. There's no ROI for DEI, and that's why it keeps falling by the wayside. So if you've got some special scheme, if you've got the secret spices to show that a diverse film simply for being diverse is an automatic win, give us an example. If you already know this, you must have evidence, and not a McKinsey study that just glad hands itself into everybody else say, "Oh, this is the evidence. Look at this evidence. Look at this evidence. One study done by a completely skewed organization is the evidence." You have to have an active example. What is your active example of a film that simply on the basis of its quote unquote diversity got $1 million zillion paycheck? Come on.
Because so far, yeah, Tony's right in the chat, and I'm glad he pulled that reference, the underwear gnomes. That's what she's selling at this point.
Yeah. You
make diverse movie and profit.
Yeah. If that's all it is, give us an example.
And create an industry that celebrates humanity in all its forms.
It's been doing that
kind of
for
like it
decades.
Always has. Exactly. Yeah. Fabulously.
Film is one of the great imprints we leave on this earth.
Maybe if it's preserved. I mean, where's London After Midnight or whatever? Anyway.
Yeah, there's a lot of prints that are lost.
Legacy.
Sorry, I went back up a little bit. Sorry.
Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, that's right.
It's our legacy.
One of them.
It's a testament to the stories we choose to tell and the voices we choose to amplify.
If the stories are worth telling.
By capturing diverse stories on film, we preserve a piece of humanity for future generations to cherish and learn from.
If they're worth it, and do you have a success story? Why is it so difficult?
It's through...
Did you see that side eye? Look at this lady up here. Watch the lady up
what
in
is
this
she
corner
upset
here.
about? Yeah.
Watch this.
From. It's through storytelling.
Oh, she's looking at white boys over there. Did you see that? That's what she's doing. She's like, you hear that? Uh-huh.
Faustonia, holy cats, thank you so much, Faustonia. Appreciate it very much. Generally, the more I see these TEDx videos, I wonder what the over-under is for those attending TEDx for learning versus those who are there for entertainment, a la the dinner game. Think of the movie Dinner for Schmucks.
I wish, my friend.
I don't know. I've never attended one myself. Someday I probably should, just if it one like is within easy reach or something, just for the experience of it, even if it's all not related to anything I'm interested to. But
nah, I get what he's saying. I wish it was that was the case, but I think people actually buy into this garbage.
No,
I'll bring up one more example that is of a flop. Color Purple.
Oh, that's true. Yeah, that did just come out. But then the original wasn't a flop, was it?
Nope.
Yeah, it got Oscar awards and everything.
And they gave Steven Spielberg hell for making that movie.
Yeah, but as far as TEDx,
but you know what Oprah said at that time? Oprah and Whoopi and them, they said, you know why they wanted Steven Spielberg as a director?
Why?
Because he was the biggest director in the world, and they knew that they would actually get attention on the story. That's why.
Yeah, because he's a good director and good storyteller. It's quality.
People would pay attention.
And if Steven Spielberg were Asian and he was as successful as that, same difference.
It was just because he was Steven Spielberg. His sex and his identity or whatever you want to friggin' call it had nothing to do with it. It's just because he's Steven friggin' Spielberg.
Yeah, he'd had a proven track record of success. As far as attending TEDx's, I think most people attend them with. I'm going to benefit of the doubt. Most people attend them with an eye towards learning something and being educated on different subjects. Some attendants maybe simply look at me, I'm so enlightened and high-minded or something, because unfortunately a lot of people associate TEDx with the quality that TED used to have. And now TED doesn't so much have that quality anymore, as we've seen from things like the Lizzo presentation and onward. But anyway,
any of this academic stuff anymore, I almost just assume right off the bat it's been inundated with woke crap.
Yeah. So I think a lot of people come to these things with in good faith. Let's just say in good faith. But then you have, I guess, our lady up here who's just like, like, what the hell was that? Anyway,
I think she was actually looking at all those white guys over there.
I don't disbelieve you, because her eye line is right over here. So who knows?
Yep. She's like, are you listening, white boys?
All right.
And from. It's through storytelling that we leave our mark on this world.
She's smiling.
Adding to the narrative of our shared human experience.
You're not talking about shared experience. You're divvying people up on the basis of their gender or their ethnicity as somehow being an elevated storytelling device than a common human experience.
What makes it a better story? That's the thing you haven't answered.
Well, I was still waiting for that example.
From the beginning of time, humans have used storytelling as a way to communicate with each other.
Oh, they have? Because according to the way that you framed it earlier, I thought this was something that happened last week. Okay.
From the very first cave drawings.
Uh-huh.
It allows us to showcase our struggles, triumphs, joys, and sorrows.
This should have been your opening statement.
Right?
This is what she just said is the kind of thing you hear as an opening statement to a paper, not something you bring in at the 11th hour at the end. That is working towards a thesis statement. But this is all over the place. This is so frustrating.
In this digital age where information is ever more abundant and present, film acts as a timeless artifact that will encapsulate the essence of our era.
It can, but if it's not a dated story, it can last forever. But okay, how many modern day references do you make, or like parables to Donald Trump do you put in there?
Our cinematic creations will last way beyond our existence.
If they're any good.
So,
a needle pulling thread.
Let's flip the script together.
Okay.
Embracing our true selves.
Our true selves. What is my true self? What do I base my true self on again?
And becoming authentic storytellers.
Authentic. Oh, so prior I was just some kind of deceptive jerkwad, but now I have to be an authentic storyteller. Yeah. Okay. All right. So how do I become an authentic storyteller in a minute and a half?
How do you become an authenticon?
Authentic. I like it. That's great. That's great. I'm gonna have to cook up a poster or something for that Authenticon. That's great.
The landscape.
The Authenticons.
The Authenticons. Yeah. The Transformer. Yeah. That's the new faction. That should be the DEI insertion for the next Transformers franchise.
We are the Authenticons.
Very good. I like it, man. You got a better soundboard than I do.
Storytellers. By expanding the landscape of storytelling, our film legacy has the power to inspire, educate, and unite us all. Let's continue to allow voices from all walks of life to shine.
I thought we weren't, and that was the problem. What do you mean?
Yeah, continue? I was gonna say see, this is what I was getting. She's not unless she gets to something here, because really all she's saying is, guess what? We've made some progress. Let's do some more. That's all she's saying. It's like,
did you know that movies tell stories of people? Wow.
Yeah.
And celebrate the rich tapestry that is the beauty of humanity. Ultimately, being uniquely yourself is your storytelling superpower.
No, you said that we're representing entire demographics. It's not about individual experience. You're talking about representation. You're talking about you make a movie about a boyfriend who dumped you, and suddenly that's representative of the British, Caribbean, female black experience.
How? All you're saying is, you compared it to Taylor Swift. She's telling us the Taylor Swift experience at this point. That's what she's telling us.
Yeah, but she doesn't want it to be just about her.
She has
wants to be an avatar.
Yeah, spoilers. Somebody in the chat looked up her IMDb. She has not made a friggin' movie yet.
I thought she did like a dozen short
films, yes. Not an actual movie.
All right.
As I continue on my filmmaking journey, I'm reminded of the importance of my authenticity and staying true to myself.
You know what? I voice one more damn time. Sorry.
You know what? I'd love to hear just a little bit of, in the role that she is now as director, writer at something. Who is her inspiration? Who has inspired her, and why? I mean, I would love to know, like, what show, what director, what actor or actress.
You're
or
right.
whatever.
That'd be a good argument, but she's not using that, right? Like,
it's bizarre to me because, it's like she started out by saying, when I was growing up on the Council of State, I was watching television and movies and everything. I had a passion for storytelling. Like, what kind of stories? Whose stories did you appreciate? Whose portrayal did first inspire you to become an actress or something? A little bit more. Again, it's leaving out of context. It's really frustrating.
Because that's what bothers me about this whole argument, is that their argument is that, okay, it's kind of like the same thing of like, well, people think only men can be doctors because that's all we saw as doctors back in the 30s, 40s, 50s, etc.
Mm-hmm.
Then as more women got into the, they were in the medical industry as nurses and whatnot. Well, then, yeah, okay. So as soon as we started seeing more doctors that weren't, white men, be it black and other races, and women, it became a little less taboo or a little less
Sure.
whatever word you want to insert there.
Sure.
And yeah, so that did inspire more people to become a doctor, right? That weren't necessarily white and male or white in general. And that is a good example. That's exactly what you're talking about. Say, okay, so I was going to the doctor one day and I saw this one woman as a doctor, and I never thought in a million years a woman could be a doctor. Like, why isn't this woman going, okay, I saw Whoopi Goldberg on television one day as a kid and realized, oh shit, I can be an actress too. Because that's a great example, because Whoopi Goldberg, when she was a little girl, she's sitting there watching TV. All of a sudden, she's watching Star Trek. And she comes running into the kitchen to her mom, and she goes, Mama, there's a black lady on TV, and she ain't no maid.
Yeah, it was Michelle Nichols as Uhura on Star Trek. Yep.
And that inspired her as a little girl. So that's the kind of story this chick is not giving us. She's not giving us a context where she's had a point where we said, okay, well, if we do more of these and if more girls see themselves as directors and blah, 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 you can make that argument. But once you get to a certain point beyond actors and actresses, which, look, every single person who ever wanted to be an actress, a singer, or whatever has tried it. Don't think you don't know a kid who sits there and goes, and you know exactly what they want to do or should do because they're talented, right? But you also have the situation where, yes, there isn't that many female directors or directors of color, let's say. But does that mean there is that many people who want to be one and are in some way feeling like there's some kind of barrier there? Now, there's some people who would like to make you believe that, and that's what this chick is trying to do, is make us believe in some way without explaining it, where it comes from or what it is, that there's some kind of barrier there between her and telling these diverse stories and being a director, of a woman director of color, whatever you want to call it. And where's that example?
Well, that's what I'm talking about. She keeps talking about barriers and challenges. And again, I come to these things, with a certain level of cynicism, but I'm also waiting to be told what it is that you're arguing for. I'm open to an example. Give like, if you have an example where you specifically went through this process and this happened and you hit this barrier and you're able to tell us, and whether or not I believe your example is a completely separate issue, but if you give us an active example of, I was trying to find financing for my film, and then this person told me this, whereas someone over here who had a similar production or a similar spiel or pitch or whatever, they didn't have the same issue. And so I began to think that there was a problem with whether or not I believe the credibility of your story.
Exactly.
You have to just saying I encountered challenges. Well, what are your challenges? Because so far, all the challenges I've heard have been self-imposed. If I'm believing
either
the chronology of your
self-imposed or that she sucks, basically. Yes.
Well, either that, but without knowing. But here's the thing: by the chronology of her own telling, her barriers have been, I didn't have the curiosity before I got into acting to ask what else goes on behind the camera. I didn't have the curiosity before I got in behind the camera to find out what financing is like for feature films. These aren't barriers that are being imposed upon you. She didn't
frame it that way, though.
Well, I know. Well, she didn't frame it that way, but I've got nothing else to go on other than
I get what you're saying.
This. Yeah.
But here's where I'm coming from too, is like, where is your examples? Because it's important to me, and this is where I say, because we live in a world right now where people who didn't even really earn it are getting Marvel movies. I brought up Eternals earlier. That's a great example of a female director came in doing very indie work like she's doing. Like, it almost seems like she would be perfect for what they want right now. So what is the problem then? You must be the problem, is what I'm getting at, right? Like, she's just not that good. Maybe that's it. And she just doesn't want to accept it. She kind of came to a point where she would question those things, but then, yeah, you're right. She has not given us one example outside of her first short film. And she kept referring back to that when she even talked about the other thing. But the other thing is we have not seen another project from her that wasn't a short film. So where's your example? What is going on here? Give us something. So she's got 2 minutes left in this? I can't see the beginning time or where you're at there. So
sorry, I got a phone call just there. Sorry about that.
No, that's fine.
Yeah. So yeah, we got 2 minutes left, and
that's what I thought.
As you'll find, for those of you that are veterans to the show, asking for, expecting, hoping for, and not getting active examples is like a curse with TEDx's. But okay, let's try to wrap this sucker up.
As a producer, I actively seek to support people who have found their authentic voice.
I can only imagine what prerequisites that entails.
With each project, I strive to connect with audiences on a deeper level,
Give us one.
sharing stories that resonate with the human experience in all its diversity.
Like?
And while I might be at the beginning of my journey.
Are you? You've gone through actress, behind the scenes, now producer. And like somebody said, they looked at their IMDb, there's nothing there.
I am excited to see where it leads because
of course
I know there is countless more stories waiting to be told.
You don't say. Is that it?
Thank you.
That's it? That's good.
This is a sales pitch.
Well, this is a sales pitch for her. Yeah,
exactly. She wants funding for her movies. She's producing stuff for people. Then let's produce, honey. Let's see you actually produce something.
Proof is in the proverbial pudding. Okay, so we're going to go to the bingo card.
Context, I'm going with that.
Hold on. I already circled that one. That's already.
Oh, did you? Okay. All right.
Yeah, so here, okay, so everyone. So here's the card.
Okay, I still haven't gotten play victim. I got to get that one in there. Okay.
Okay. Yeah, Tom and I are going to go over the card one more time.
All right.
And then we'll open it up to the floor. Okay, so let's start off. Word salad. Now, at any point did I feel like I couldn't understand or was just like verbal diarrhea?
No, she was fairly articulate in her, but she just didn't. She's a good dancer. I'll give her that.
Yeah, there wasn't. I mean, well, I can see an argument being made. But let's move on. A list. She didn't give us a formal list per se. Patriarchy. She didn't lean into a male-dominated space. Well, no, actually, take it back. 50% women.
I was gonna say
writers and directors. Yeah.
Not only that, she used Barbie as her prime example.
That's also true. Okay, so circling patriarchy. Feminism. Now, did she get explicitly feminist? Well,
kind of going off the last argument you just made.
Yeah, I hate to double dip on that, but she was talking about aiming for gender parity in directors and writers and so on. And there was definitely a bent towards the gender diversity argument.
Because notice she didn't lean so much into her race as she did the gender part, so that's why I'll give it to her.
That's also true. But we also have
bingo.
What? Bingo! Yeah!
Of course!
Our second bingo.
Nice.
All right, let's keep going. Attempt to coin new buzzword or buzz phrase. I don't hear anything new.
No, I'll give her that one. No.
Okay. Anecdote that probably never happened. Well, the only anecdote that I can think of is if I actually believe that she had absolutely no idea about the difficulties of financing before she started making movies.
Yeah, that's a tough one. Do we believe the way she told it, or?
Yeah. Well, the thing is that it just seems so detached from basic common sense,
right?
So, but the thing is, if she's willing to make that admission, I have a hard time believing that it's false. At the same time, like maybe she's just like, I had no idea. Like
that's what I'm saying. Look, I've known enough known enough people that know actors to say I could believe it. They are that full of themselves and blissfully unaware of their surroundings.
Yeah, especially if they think they just have to like show up and everything else will be taken care of. So as bizarre as it is, I guess I could kind of believe it, especially since the story that she told in Chain of Events is actually works against her skills and experience that you would expect. So I kind of believe it, but I'll see if somebody else.
There is one that I wouldn't say that I don't necessarily. I believe that she believes it. Let me put it that way.
Okay. Sure.
Let me explain real quick.
Yeah.
When she's talking to the distributor, the whatever the hell she called
salesperson. Yeah, the
salesperson. Okay, and then she's like, and then I finally just threw an idea out there, and they're like, look, if you can get money for that movie, I can sell it. I honestly think, and I think she believes in her mind that was a go if she could get something done, right? But to me, that sounds like the typical. Yeah, if you can get the money for that, sure, I'll fucking sell that. Just leave me the hell alone. Shut up. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, but I mean, that wasn't an anecdote I mean, if she'd followed
that's what I'm
that
saying.
up,
I don't know if it doesn't really fall into that per se, but yeah.
It didn't serve her argument because she didn't follow it up with anything to like use that to bolster it. If anything, that entire anecdote itself could be either a weightless example or actually, it could be weightless example because it didn't tell.
Let's do that.
Yeah, let's move on real quick. Our argumentative non sequitur. Okay, what did she bring up that she never came back to again? That did nothing to further her argument. Now, her bringing up anything dealing with movies or the problem with this one is it is so abstract, but also all about her personal experiences so far in making films.
That's the thing. She
brings up. Yeah.
One time was her boyfriend, and that's it. Right. So otherwise, she kept talking about her experience, talking about these things, but never giving us any examples. That was the part to me that, like, she didn't talk about any of other short projects. She didn't talk about, Yeah,
actually, before we have to take a step back. I guess we have to determine first, before we even continue on this one or the rest, what was her argument? As far as I can tell, her argument is that movies are better and or more profitable if they are diverse. Does that sound reasonable to what she was getting at?
It sounded like the same argument I've been hearing out of these wokey for the last 10 years, basically, or 8 years, whatever you want to call it.
Okay, so if her argument is diverse movies are good because diversity, if that's her argument.
That's the best she came up with, in my opinion, yeah. Yeah,
so is there anything in there that's that, the discussion with the salesperson did, well, without telling us the specifics.
Honestly, I would say she's given us nothing but weightless examples, because nothing that she said. Okay. And I've been saying that since Barbie.
All right, let's keep going. Now again, I don't think self-vilification happened here. Plays victim.
No, you're
yes,
right. You're right.
But her saying that she was contributing to a problem, she was constantly subject to the issues or the limitations of the industry. She was not the villain in any of these stories.
No, she actually did try to own up to some things, but then she would turn right back around, and I knew it couldn't have been that.
Well, so even owning up to things was just sort of underlining her own ignorance, which doesn't make her a villain, just makes her human. Like she was not contributing to a problem. She was trying to solve problems for herself by learning and going to other people. So that doesn't make her. Yeah. So I mean, I'm open to arguments, guys. Just so you know, if we skip over a square and you guys have an argument to make,
well, I still say that Barbie was a weightless example.
Well, the problem with Barbie is that she used it as an example of, look, here's a female-led, female-created film that was very successful.
Well, and I would use the fact that she used 0 examples for anything as a whole. She should get that one.
All right, we'll see. Economic disparity.
Well, so what else was your argument? Finish your argument there. I want to hear it.
Oh, for which?
Well, you just said you were about to say something else. Anyway, you didn't finish.
Was I?
I interrupted you.
No, it's okay. I forgot. That's okay.
Okay, sorry.
Economic disparity. So the only reason I'll bring this up is because she started out by saying she grew up on a council estate, had no connections, and so on. And that at least speaks to a underprivileged background, financially speaking. Okay. So that's enough. It's just a smidge. If this was a bingo square, I'd be but it's enough. And lastly, weightless example. So your argument is Barbie. I don't think it's weightless if her argument is a movie that is completely run by women can be successful. I'm not saying it cures all ills as an example, but I don't think it's weightless.
I'd say it's weightless because it's not a good example, and she doesn't, and I think she earns it overall because the only other example she gives us is a story about her ex-boyfriend who cheated on her. Right? Like, she didn't give us anything more than that. She talks about a lot of stuff, sets a lot of stuff up, but like you kept saying, give us an example. Give us an example.
Well,
the fact that you and I both kept saying that, I think, falls into that category.
Well, the problem is that she didn't give us. The only active example she gave us was Barbie. She didn't give any other productions. She didn't talk about any other films. She just brought up Barbie once and then alluded to the idea that these things could be. And so if her argument, and again, we have to go back to what is her argument?
The whole trust me bro argument, basically.
Yes, and that's the problem, is that it was a trust me bro argument. If you make a diverse film, there is an audience for these films. If you make a film that has a particular demographic represented in it, that demographic will go see that movie. Now you and I, know that is not a sure and fast equation to success. She is trying to pitch that is the equation. The problem is that she didn't provide any evidence except for Barbie. So in making her argument, it's not weightless. It has some relevance to her argument. It's not a very good one. It doesn't give the full picture, but I don't know that it's weightless. She'd have to bring up something that is just doesn't even come close to talking about her argument. The problem is that she went all over the place talking about the challenges and the barriers, not talking about what the barriers were. She talked about the process of the financing and everything else. Sounded for a second like she talked about something reasonable, and then she didn't. I don't know. I think I might need some audience input on this.
I understand what it means, but I guess I'm trying to like.
Okay, audience, chat, we need some tiebreakers here on a couple of these things, because I'm disagreeing with Tom in some instances, and he's disagreeing with others. So between self-vilification, argumentative non sequitur, weightless example, and the remainder, if you've got an argument that'll tip me one direction or bolster Tom,
I agree with you on all the other ones. The only one I'm kind of waffling on is weightless example, more so just because she didn't really give us much to go on, and the few things she did give us were light at best. That's what I'm going on.
So in the chat, if you have an opinion on weightless example or have a different element of the presentation that you think either goes for or against a weightless example, put in the chat. If you have arguments for other squares to be circled, put them in the chat now. Be sure to tag me in it so that I can see it here. Okay, so Advocatus Diaboli. Her study was weightless as to whether or not diversity would increase market share. Oh, yeah, she did bring up the McKinsey thing and never gave us
I was going to say, she also brought up whatever it was about per percentage of black people watch movies or something like that, or whatever it was, and Asian people.
Yeah. Okay, so
that's another demographic I think that they clumped together too on top of it all, but
Okay, the McKinsey thing, is it weightless example or argumentative non sequitur? Mark Smart says the think tank study was weightless. Okay, so we got a second one from McKinsey. Anybody else on weightless example? Scrolling down here a little bit.
Well, yeah, kind of by your own admission, that study would be a weightless example.
Yeah, no, that's true. Okay, you know what? We can set aside Barbie, definitely McKinsey, without telling us anything else. Also, not necessarily as an example, but just completely blazing. Shouldn't 50% of directors be women as well? Like, what is that supposed to prove? If you say it. But anyway, all that aside, with that.
Yeah, you're right, because that's what I said. Yeah, maybe they should be, but that doesn't mean 50% of women want to be directors.
Yeah, and what did I clicked on. There we go.
Or there's enough women that want to be directors to make up that demographic, I should say. Yeah.
True enough.
Ooh, that's a bingo.
Right?
Yeah!
We have our
I think
next
that's
bingo.
my favorite one because it was Christoph Waltz.
Yeah, that was the first one. Actually, the idea for the little bingo stinger thing came from Kurt Metzger, as he was on a stream. He's like, you should really have like, and he even that was his example. You have that sound clip of that guy saying bingo in that Glorious Bastion. I'm like, oh, okay, and that was the only bingo stinger for the longest time, and then I expanded a bit. But anyway, so we got so far we have 1, 2, 3 bingos. Any other arguments for squares to be circled, guys? I thought I saw something up here for argumentative non sequitur. 1 second. Here we go. Advocatus Diaboli. Her saying all of this begs the question, just in front loading her point, when none of what she said before begged her question why are we not doing this?
Yeah.
That's true. Yeah, no, that fits the bill, as it were. So circling that one on the board. Let me update this. Okay. All right. Oh my gosh. All right. Any other arguments for squares to be circled, guys? Let me scroll big, make sure I didn't miss anybody. Bridget. A production is good if it can reach beyond the target demographic. Look at shonen anime. The target demographic is Japanese schoolboys, but it drew in a wide audience. Yeah. When you have a movie that can speak to the human experience that she kept talking about, but not be about, and beyond even the like Titanic, Harry Potter, Star Wars, for crying out loud. How many international Star Wars fan clubs are there? How many people, and even before the current day Disney stuff, Star Wars was a global phenomenon that starred primarily white people speaking English. And what? Everybody under the sun loved it and has loved it for decades. You can have something that doesn't ascribe to a particular demographic that can transcend culture and demographics if it taps in to something fundamental about the human experience or just something that people really enjoy. So the idea that you have to segregate creativity by race, culture, gender, or whatever else to get the best outcome is provably untrue. So it's just the whole thing is just so, and it really feels like 17 steps backwards when people talk about this. Like, oh, we have to make movies because we know that the audience is inherently racist, sexist, or otherwise. They won't pay attention to a film they can't see themselves in. Like, come on. Let's see. Mark Smart says, I think weightless example should count in the future if you ask for an example more than twice and they don't give one.
Yeah, I mean, I guess a lack of example. It should be another way of putting it.
Yeah, that'd be a hair to split on the card, but I'll take that into consideration, Mark. That's not a bad idea because we have had that happen way too often, where someone makes an argument and they constantly just stop short of giving us a success story or a failure that taught them something, or
Right.
They allude to something and never tell us the specifics. So it depends on the circumstances. If you have it come up multiple times, because that's like, is it leaves out vital context, as in explaining what you're talking about, or is it a lack of examples? Like I said, I'll consider that for special cases if we can split that hair. But yeah, no, you got a decent point.
Right.
We see that is a common element we see in TEDx's oftentimes, is a bunch of blather without any specificity. Any other arguments for squares, guys? I don't think, as much as I would say otherwise, I don't think word salad quite fits.
No, I understood what she said most of the time.
Yeah, it was a very circuitous route around. It wasn't structured well. Let me put it that way. Starting out with your life, childhood example, but then coming to a point or trying to make a thesis statement like 3/4 of the way through the deal. It was not a well-structured presentation, but it wasn't like an incoherent one.
And there was only that one time we couldn't understand what the hell she was saying. So.
Yeah. And that was just accent more than anything else. She never gave us a list. She never gave us like, here are 3 steps to starting becoming an actress or an actor or something. There was nothing like that. There was nothing new as far as buzzwords or buzz phrases that I heard, or nothing that was repeated enough to make me think she was trying to sell something. Anecdote that never happened. She didn't give us enough anecdotes to really work with, except for her trip to LA. And again, she didn't make it as an actress. And that's that's an anecdote in her disfavor. So I can't call that never happened. And of course, she's not even on IMDb, which somebody in the audience looked at. So proof positive there. Talking to the salesperson and her last idea, which she never told us. And lastly, self-vilification. Now, she was either the victim and or the pioneer throughout her entire story. So as you may hear, my voice is starting to fail me. So I think I'm going to wrap things up here. Now, as always, if anybody has an argument for a square not circle that you're listening to this after the fact, or I missed your argument in the chat, and you're listening to this in the future, by all means, leave a comment with your argument before. It has been the case that someone's made an argument in the comments for a square not circled, and that has led up to bingos or just a square being circled. So I'm happy to entertain those. Or alternately, you could also put your arguments up on the Discord server. And did you guys know I have a Discord server? Did you also know that I didn't prepare a link before the show started? So I'm buying time right now and blabbing so I can get a link out there. Yeah, okay, there you go. There's a link in the chat right now. Click on that. You'll find yourself on the landing channel called Say Hello. And in addition to saying hello, you just have to say the secret word. The secret word will tell me that you're not a bot. Actually watch the stream and have thus earned the right, the privilege, the entitlement to join the Discord server. And today, our secret word is, Tom, what's our secret word?
Lasagna.
Lasagna. Everybody just say hello, lasagna, and we'll know that you watched the show. Before we get out of here, Tom, what have you got coming up that you'd like to promote, or any other shout outs you'd like to give?
Well, I just want to thank you for having me. This is a lot of fun, and I hope we can do it again in the future. Otherwise, we have, of course, Midnight's Edge After Dark, the channel that I'm on with you a lot of the time on Thursdays and Tuesdays. So we have a show coming up tomorrow night. Otherwise, there's the main channel, of course, Midnight's Edge. I have the Lost Classics channel, as you pointed out, Midnight's Edge After Dark Radio as well, Mead Radio. Mm-hmm. Also, tonight I'll be on Fanzine's channel talking about physical media. I believe that starts at 8:30 Central Time. So, yeah, that's about the next things I'll be up to, I suppose.
Okay. Yeah, you can find links to most of that stuff in the description below, guys. Tom's Twitter, Midnight's Edge After Dark, Gloss Classics, Mead Radio, Subscribe Star, all that stuff is in the description. So take a look at those. If you don't already know about Midnight's Edge, lots of really good stuff there, lots of good documentaries and behind the scenes on movies and Hollywood and entertainment in general. But with that, everyone, thank you so much for joining me. Moderators, thank you for keeping an eye on things, even though everyone here is so well behaved. You have very, very little to do. Everybody who donated, either to myself or, as I completely forgot because I was so excited to have a guest on here, the GoFundMe links at the top of the chat box. I apologize. Let me go over those really quick to our friends Moonshock, Natalie, Angela Ariaga, Rhonda, and Blind Press. If you guys can take a look at those when you have the opportunity. If you can donate, please do so. If you can't, that's fine. But if you can share those out on social media, that would be appreciated as well. But with that, again, thanks to Tom Connors for joining me today. Hope to have him on again in the near future. Everyone, hope you enjoyed the show. Look for me tomorrow night. I'm still going to do another TED Excellence tomorrow night, 6 p.m. Pacific, 9 p.m. Eastern. Not sure which one yet. I just have to look and see what crop they dropped today, but we'll see. And then otherwise, everyone, have a good rest of your Wednesday. Have a good rest of your week. I hope you're all safe and well. And if you're not well, please get well soon. And I'll see you on the next one. Take care. Bye-bye.
Later.